Today I would like to talk a little bit about bits. The subject is huge. We could talk hours and hours on what bits to use, when, where, how they work and so on. So today I just picked a small segment. Today I would like to talk a little bit about how a young horse will graduate through different bits. When we first start a young horse, we usually start out in a smooth snaffle bit. They will learn all the basics in this, right, left, softness, all of that. Usually they'll stay in that for about, I'd say in general, probably 2 to 4 months. We'll ride them in that. After that, we might need a snaffle bit that they have a little bit more respect for. That would be a twisted wire snaffle right here. There's all sorts of different versions of it. We have several too, whatever works for a certain horse. But the basic principle is still the same. And usually I will stay in that for about, I want to say, probably another 6 to 8 months after they graduate from a smooth snaffle. Then here we've got the first step up. Usually after 6 to 8 months in a snaffle bit, we start riding them in these here. Now we're going to introduce a shank. The mouthpiece is still the same. It's a little twist, a very slow twist on this one here. It's still broken in the center. Now we introduce a shank. So this one here is a very loose shank snaffle. The shank is very short, easy for horse to understand, and there's a lot of movement here. That means our curb chain, which this is the first time they will ever wear a curb chain, is not going to be very quick on. There's enough movement in here where I can play with it and move it without my horse getting scared. And I'll teach him to accept this. Now at this point in time, once I start riding in this, it doesn't mean I can't go back to a snaffle bit. That means I might ride in a couple of days with this, I go back to a snaffle, I go back to this after a few days in a snaffle again. All I want to do is introduce the shank and get them comfortable with pressure on their curb chain. Usually then after about, I want to say 10 to 12 months, maybe a little sooner, the horse will graduate into a small correction. This one here is the first complex mouthpiece that they will wear. This one is broken in 2 pieces, still has a short shank on it. I still don't want too much shank on my young horses. They are pretty much used to the pressure on the curb chain now. Now we add, as I said, a little bit more of a complex mouthpiece to it. And usually they'll start riding really good in this. I really like this on my young horses. Then, after about 12 to 14 months, they will graduate into the first solid mouthpiece. Up to this point in time, there's always been movement in the mouthpiece. First we had the snaffle bit pieces that were broken in the center. Then we had a correction that was broke right here. Now we have a solid mouthpiece in here. That's an important and a big learning step for a young horse. We still have a swivel shank on here, and still short. We're still not riding these horses in a lot of shank. This is a big step for a horse because once they're in a solid mouthpiece, that's where they'll learn, where they'll continue on to graduate through bigger bridles, through different bridles. But the solid mouthpiece is a big step, and once the horse accepts a solid mouthpiece and is comfortable in it, then you can talk about that horse having a solid foundation to move on in their career.